Today is Friday, July 1st. We'll tell you about a power shift in the executive branch. The Supreme Court gave the Biden administration more authority over immigration and less power to combat climate change. Also, we'll break down the holiday weekend costs and travel forecast. Plus, the plan for a fall COVID-19 vaccine campaign, a new way to get internet in moving vehicles. And two big-name schools are joining a different super conference, what it means for the future of college sports. Those stories and more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on a couple more controversial issues in its final opinions of this term. First, one of the most significant climate cases in more than a decade. The High Court limited the White House's power to combat climate change. West Virginia led a bunch of other states and coal producers who wanted the court to clarify the limits of the EPA's authority. And this week, in another 6-3 decision, the court decided the EPA does not have the power to regulate carbon dioxide emissions within the energy industry. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the conservative-leaning majority, saying when there are regulations with big economic and political consequences, they need to go through Congress. This could have a big impact beyond just this case, since there tends to be debate about a lot of the policies that come from regulatory agencies without Congress being involved. It was seen as a big win for Republicans who have been fighting for decades to take down some of these regulations. But President Biden called it a devastating decision and promised his administration would find other ways to protect public health and tackle the climate crisis. In a second Supreme Court ruling, most justices sided with President Biden, saying he can finally lift the controversial Remain in Mexico immigration policy that's been in place since 2019. It's the policy that says migrants who apply for asylum need to wait in Mexico instead of the United States while American authorities evaluate their cases. Supporters say it's helped alleviate some of the congestion in the southern U.S. and the burden on American taxpayers. But the Biden administration has been trying to end it, arguing it's not humane since it forces vulnerable migrants to stay in especially violent border cities. Lower courts said the Biden administration did not have enough justification to change the policy. But this week, the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 ruling, said those courts went too far. Once again, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority, saying they can't force Biden to keep policies that stop him from being able to set his own immigration procedures and foreign policy. Even still, this does not mean Remain in Mexico can be lifted right away. The justice's ruling just sends the case back to a lower court to reconsider. So stay tuned. For the first time, President Biden endorsed ending long-standing Senate rules that have been in place for nearly half a century. We're talking about the filibuster. Remember, it's a tactic that allows unlimited debate on a bill, usually to delay or prevent Congress from taking real action on it. The only way to get around it is to have at least 60 out of the 100 senators want to pass that bill. But now, since the Senate is split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans, it's tough to get those 60 votes. Well, Biden now says it's worth to do away with the rule to protect abortion access. He said the nation needs to make a woman's right to an abortion a law, and now that the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, the only way to do that is through Congress. If the filibuster did go away, the Senate would only need 51 votes instead of 60, and a law guaranteeing abortion access would be much more likely to pass. And to make the filibuster go away, only 51 senators would have to support the idea. But the thing is, not even all the Democrats in the Senate are on board with this move. A couple of them say it would fundamentally change the nature of the Senate and could backfire if the GOP takes the majority. So at this point, it's unlikely. Vaccine makers have been given the go-ahead to make new COVID-19 shots, ones to better target Omicron subvariants BA4 and BA5, as well as the original strain. The idea is to tackle the versions of COVID-19 that are most common right now. The FDA told companies like Pfizer and Moderna to make combo vaccines that can be rolled out for a fall booster campaign. This is pretty much what happens with the flu shot each year as well. Vaccine makers make their annual updates to try to target whatever strain is most prevalent that year. And experts say it's necessary with the COVID-19 vaccines, since the ones currently on the market are starting to become less effective against the latest variants, especially in people who got the original shots a long time ago. Moderna and Pfizer say they're both up for it, that they can update their vaccine's technology pretty quickly and can start clinical trials right away. Today, our neighbors to the north are celebrating Canada Day. It happens every July 1st to celebrate Canada's birthday, since the country was officially formed on July 1st, 1867. Basically, it's the Canadian version of the 4th of July. And just like the 4th of July, people around the country will celebrate with parades, festivals, barbecues, fireworks, concerts, and citizenship ceremonies. And this year, many celebrations are also recognizing Indigenous peoples. Then on Monday, it's the United States' turn to be patriotic. Coming up, we'll tell you what to expect this 4th of July weekend, from navigating busy roads and airports to spending money on things like fireworks and cookouts. More news is still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor, BetterHelp Online Therapy. We all know how powerful our brains are. They control everything we do. So why not treat our minds with the care they deserve? I've experienced it myself, that when I invest the time and effort into better understanding what's going on in my mind and how to make sure I'm caring for it properly, it has a positive impact on the way I experience all of life. I show up for my family better, I run my business better, and I take care of myself better. And part of that caring for my mind is through therapy. Having a professional to talk things out with is surprisingly helpful. And one convenient way to try therapy is through BetterHelp. It offers video, phone, and even live chat therapy sessions. So you can be face-to-face on video if you want, or you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And it's easy to switch and request a new therapist if you don't click with the first one right away. Plus, our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/newsworthy. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Travel over this 4th of July holiday weekend is expected to be busy, potentially hitting records. Airports could see the highest number of travelers since the pandemic started. But the problem is, airlines are facing many more challenges now, like staffing shortages. And even before the peak travel time this weekend, there have been delays and cancellations on various airlines. Delta is even reaching out to customers to offer free rebooking, so that means customers won't have to pay fare differences for a new flight within the provided window. A lot of people plan to drive this weekend, too. AAA predicts 42 million people will travel by car over the holiday weekend, which, if true, will set a record despite the high gas prices. Be prepared, the cost of 4th of July celebrations will be more expensive this year. Axios reports fireworks will cost you about 25 to 30% more. One industry group said there's been unprecedented demand for backyard fireworks ever since 2020, when many cities and towns canceled the professional shows because of COVID. So that, coupled with higher shipping costs and shipping delays, have led to higher prices. Even backyard barbecues will be pricier this year because of the higher cost of burgers, chips, and food overall. The American Farm Bureau Federation found the price of a traditional holiday cookout went up by 17%, or about $10 in the past year, not including alcohol. Like many things, this all has to do with inflation. California just approved the nation's most strict requirements for plastic packaging. State lawmakers passed the legislation with bipartisan support, saying they hope it sets a precedent for other states to follow. And right away, the governor signed it. Under the new law, companies will have to reduce plastics in single-use products 10% in the next 5 years and 25% in the next 10 years. So any company that sells shampoo, soap, detergent, food, or other products wrapped in plastic will have to either reduce the size of their packages, switch to a different material, or make the product reusable or refillable. Also, in 10 years, plastic will have to be recycled at a rate of 65%, which is a massive jump from today's rates. Right now, most plastic products are not recycled in the U.S., with millions of tons ending up in landfills and the world's oceans. SpaceX got the green light to use its Starlink internet service on vehicles in motion. We're talking everything from trucks to boats to planes to RVs. The FCC just granted the company's request, saying it's in the public's interest. Already, SpaceX has deals to put its internet on private jets and Hawaiian Airlines flights over the next couple of years. And it's hoping to expand well beyond that soon. To get the internet service, customers will have to buy a personal antenna or user terminal that's meant to connect with any Starlink satellites that might be overhead. Until now, those dishes had to stay in a fixed location to access the system. SpaceX has launched some 2,700 satellites into orbit since 2019. It's being called a seismic shift in college athletics. Sports powerhouses USC and UCLA are leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. That's pretty huge, since the two California schools have been in the Pac-12 for the last century. And it's going to give the Big Ten a lot of reach from as far west as Los Angeles and as far east as College Park, Maryland. They were voted in unanimously. USC and UCLA say the move will mean more visibility, exposure, and resources for their teams. But the Pac-12 said in a statement it was extremely surprised and disappointed by the decision. The switch will happen starting in 2024 after the Pac-12's current media rights contracts expire with Fox and ESPN. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. If you have some summer travel coming up like I do, then you'll love having Rothy's shoes on hand. They're perfect for commuting and traveling. They're crazy comfortable, almost like a slipper. So whether I'm wearing them with yoga pants or a maxi dress, I don't have to worry about my feet hurting. And they're stylish, the kind of chic where everyone tends to notice them. And they can be dressed up or down, which is another reason they're great for travel. One pair of shoes for multiple outfits. Plus, Rothy's takes sustainability to the next level. All of their products are knit with thread made from plastic water bottles. They've repurposed about 125 million water bottles so far. Your new favorite shoes are waiting. Discover the versatile styles you can wear absolutely anywhere and get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy for $20 off your first order. Now back to Feel Good Friday. For one last time, we've partnered with Todd Perry, host of the Upworthy Weekly podcast, to provide you with an uplifting story.
People are rallying around an honest teen who went out of his way to return a woman's missing purse. According to NBC News San Diego, Eliana Martin was shopping at a local supermarket when after she left, she realized she accidentally left her purse in a shopping cart in the parking lot. The purse was full of cash and credit cards. 17-year-old Adrian Rodriguez found the purse and got what he thought was her address from her ID. He then drove to the home and dropped the purse off with her former roommate's family. Even though Rodriguez didn't expect anything for doing the right thing, Martin's former roommate, Melina Marquez, organized a GoFundMe campaign that has raised nearly $8,000 for the 17-year-old.
I didn't expect none of this. I just did it just to do it.
As soon as I saw his actions, I was like, oh man, I hope my son grows up to be just like him.
Rodriguez says he's going to buy some gas with the money. Back to you, Erica.
You can catch Todd and his co-host Allison Rosen on the Upworthy Weekly podcast. All right, we will be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode, giving you the best advice I've heard about time management and creating a life you love just in time for the summer season. And a quick note that our team is taking the day off Monday for the 4th of July holiday. So we'll be back to catch you up on Tuesday. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great holiday weekend.